Hello and welcome back to Core Finance with me, Matt Brown. I'm joined by Shaun Richards of Not a Yes Man Economics. Shaun, Bitcoin, been in the news over the past few weeks, as it always is, but we've had the fork last week. Just talk us through where you think Bitcoin's going.
Well, there's various issues here. I did a sort of research back on my own writing on it earlier, and just in the period between Christmas and New Year, I was looking at it saying it had gone from $910 to I think $976, I remember rightly, with the exact levels, and wondering what would happen. And now we find that we're discussing 3,400, I think it was 3,500 yesterday. One of the things you find at times like this as well is that you get several prices for the same thing. Now that's not unique to Bitcoin. You see, like, if people recall when there was the flash crash in the pound, people were undecided whether it was 118, 117, 116 against the dollar. But my point is here, we've seen extraordinary changes. Now, if you look at this from my point of view, thinking of it in terms of money, is it money? How does this behave? You get quite a few issues, because could it be a unit of account? Maybe, although with these things easy. Store of value. Now here's quite awkward, because in one hand it's been fantastic if you've got some who wouldn't want their money to triple or quadruple over the period, but of course on the other side then that gets a bit more awkward, storing it against something else, and suddenly suddenly it's worth a lot more. Quite how does that work? Because there's some implication of stability, and also in the meantime the price has been up and down. Medium of exchange, more places will take it, but if we pop out from here now, could we buy a cup of coffee in it? Could we do that? No. Yeah, it's had this surge. The worrying thing for people that are in it, to my thing, is I saw something earlier from Business Insider, everyone saying it will now go to $5,000. That's always worrying when people are projecting things through the roof. But it has blown higher.
And at this stage, I mean, for people that know blockchain and Bitcoin, they're obviously positive of the story. So generally they'll be buyers of it. But people who probably don't understand the products might be therefore negative, but don't want to short Bitcoin because, again, they don't really understand what's going on. So it feels like there's an inflated market. People who understand the product are buyers and positive for the product, and those that aren't are left on the sidelines. So that supply and demand and market forces really aren't at play in this particular currency.
And there are also pressures on it. I mean, some of these are from the past now, but pressures for the upside. For example, if we go back to the latter period of last year and the demonetization saga in India. Now, if we were looking at it from that, you'd want to step away from fiat money in the central banks, wouldn't you? It's a route of money out of China, and that's ebbed and flowed as they've tried to block routes out at different times. And then also there's the issue of places of where, fears of negative interest rates elsewhere, and people wanting to avoid something that the central banks have control on. And I think that actually one of the scare stories that maybe over the last week or so, many people in, is to think that from proposals in the euro area that they might freeze bank accounts. That sort of situation, excuse my voice for a minute, but if I was in running Bitcoin, that's the sort of rumour I'd start, wouldn't you? If you wanted to get the price up.
Indeed. And I mean, would you say there are parallels with Bitcoin and gold, or are they completely different?
Yes, but the actual amount here is quite different both ways. If you look at the individual unit, excuse my voice again, it's nearly treble the price. But in terms of the collective, the whole amount of gold, I think I don't know these numbers exactly accurate, but someone said the comparison was between $7.5 trillion and 57 billion. Obviously depends on the price, but there's quite a large gap here in scope.
Understood. Shaun, thank you very much for joining us today.